Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. As the program began, Deek was taken aback when Electra stated her dismay that Remy, of all people, is his boyfriend. "It's really good to see you," Remy informed his victim. "Bro, no. Just no. Read the room." Will was about to leap at Remy when a perplexed Deek finally questioned how Electra knew his beau. Only then did Remy's dark secret begin to emerge. "What aren't you telling me?" Remy's secret comes out at last. Remy revealed to Deek that he and Electra were closest friends in high school and that he had moved to Los Angeles to be closer. That wasn't the part Will wanted Remy to admit to. "Tell Deek how you used and traumatized Electra," Will instructed. "I was a different person back then," Remy cried. When Remy's version of what had happened wasn't clear enough, Electra, Ivy, and Katie filled in the gaps, revealing to Deek that his honey had posted phony nudes of the jewelry designer on the internet. "I didn't want to lose her," Remy lamented. He wanted her other pals to abandon her so that he could be the only one. On the good side, Remy attempted to explain, Electra had gone for LA. Because of his activities, which, by the way, had worked out fairly nicely, hadn't it? Yes, no. That detour wouldn't cut it. She then reminded Remy that when she discovered the stalker wall in his apartment, he chased her like an animal. In other words, as Will told Deek, Remy's not the person you think. Brooke ordered the recap special at Il Giardino. Brooke told Deacon she was there to check on him and talk about the Lope wedding. When she learned that he was thinking about rejoining with Sheila, she said, "Deacon, no."
"Why?"
Brooke reminded him that his wife had lied to him. So, how could he possibly take her back? "Taylor," he murmured, admitting that she had, aroused something in him. When Brooke pushed, Deacon shoved back, metaphorically speaking, and reiterated that Sheila was what he wanted, even if it meant getting the third degree from Deek and Hope. The conversation then went to Deek and his welcome to Forrester celebration. Sheila awkwardly thanked Taylor in Taylor's office, where she was distracted from updating her notes on Deacon by daydreams about her patient. Just then, Sheila strolled in, as if she owned the place. "Deacon came home," she added, "and it's all because of you." She wasn't asking for information on her husband. She just wanted to thank Taylor for taking her marriage into her capable, caring hands. "It's clear that you had an impact on Deacon." "Whatever Deacon decided was his decision," Taylor insisted. Nonetheless, Sheila wasn't finished gushing over the therapist she had only recently vowed to kill. She went on to brag about how gorgeous her spouse is, a bona fide catch, and admit that she was concerned he would turn to someone else. In turn, Taylor told Sheila that Deacon adored her. In the episode's final seconds, Sheila warned Taylor that she had to be on her best behavior from now on. And this time, she meant it. Sure, January. At the same time, Deacon and Brooke discussed how Deek obtained the job at Forrester on his own merits, not because he is Hope's brother. "Yes, we do know." Before Brooke exited the restaurant, she made one last remark about how she hoped Taylor would show Deacon that there are other ladies out there. Oh, based on his and Taylor's daydreams about each other, it's safe to assume that the doctor opened his eyes to new possibilities. Remy, in tears, admitted to doing what Ivy and company claimed he did. "But I was struggling with who I was back then. I was going through some kind of breakdown," he told me. "I'm so sorry, Electra. Please hear me out."
"Nah.
Nobody was going to do that. All I want is a second chance," he told Electra. "Can you look into that large heart and forgive me? I'm begging you." Perhaps it's just the way Christian Weissman plays it, but isn't it somehow simpler to feel sorry for Remy than it is for Luna? Then again, he didn't murder two people and gun up a daycare center. According to The Bold and the Beautiful, B&B, spoilers for Monday, November 3rd, heartbroken Remy Price, Christian Weissman, will plead with Deek Sharp, Christian Weissman, while Sheila Sharp, Kimberlyn Brown, is excited by Deacon Sharp's Sean Cannon announcement. Now that Remy has arrived at the Forrester showroom, Electra Forrester, Linnea Grace, recognizes Deek's boyfriend as her previous tormentor. B&B fans should anticipate Electra to attack Remy and keep Deek updated on all the stalker drama. Remy produced deepfakes and sought to be the one person Electra could turn to for help. Between the humiliation and the terrifying moment she experienced when Remy pursued her, Electra will have quite the horror story to tell Deke. Ivy Forrester, Ashley Brewer, and Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, will support Electra, but Remy will vow that he has changed and beg for forgiveness. Deke will assure Electra and the others that he was not aware of any of this. Remy's actions will enrage Deke, but he will at least give Remy the opportunity to explain himself once they are alone in the design office. Deke will chastise Remy for his deranged acts, but Remy will insist that he is not the same guy anymore. Remy will let his emotions fall and try to persuade Deacon that he will never do something like that again. Remy will try to persuade Deke not to judge him for his past since he likes who he is now. Deke may worry if Remy has truly evolved beyond that schemer mentality, especially given his relationship with Luna Nozawa, Lisa Yamada. If Deke learns that Remy visited Luna in prison, things could get even worse. Remy has already been warned by Deke to stay away from Luna, so he may face numerous crimes on Monday. Over with Deacon, he'll try to hide his feelings for Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, however it won't be easy. Deacon will also inform Sheila about Hope Logan's, Annika Noel, and Liam Spencer's, Scott Clifton, wedding preparations, so she would be pleased and want to accompany him to the event. According to the bold and the beautiful spoilers, Beth Spencer's, Jordan Gracie, determination to keep Sheila away from the wedding may cause problems in future episodes, so keep an eye out. The rain began just as Remy stepped out of the visiting room, a chilly, stinging drizzle that seeped through his flimsy prison-issued jacket before he reached the gate. 6 words. That was all it had taken. I never meant to hurt you. He'd rehearsed them for months, whispering them into the darkness of his cell until they lost all meaning, but when Electra's fierce, unforgiving eyes met his across the scratched plexiglass, the words tumbled out raw and cracked, like stones dragged from the bottom of a river. She had stared at him for a long time, her fingers pressed flat against the glass as if she could reach through and touch either the lie or the reality. She wasn't sure which. Then slowly her hand dropped. I believe you, she'd whispered, barely audible above the hum of the fluorescent lights. I forgive you. And with that, the burden of 3 years was lifted, not gone, never gone, but altered, reallocated into something he could bear. Outside, the guards ushered him through the sally port without ceremony. There was no hoopla when a man was freed on parole after serving time for a crime he had not intended to commit. Remy had always been the quiet one, the fixer, the person who fixed leaks in roofs and hearts with equal patience. He'd mended Electra's heart before, when they were kids roaming wild through the oak-lined alleys of Laurel Canyon. When her mother died, he mended it again, holding her while she wailed into his flannel shirt until the fabric stiffened from salt. But the night Deke died, everything shattered. He couldn't fix anything. Remy's best friend since 3rd grade, Deke knew your secrets before you did. They had made a home together in the tight flat above the auto shop, dreaming of one day owning their own garage, complete with neon signs and a jukebox that exclusively played Springsteen. Deke had the charm, the chuckle that could sell ice to penguins, and Remy had the hands that could bring a dying carburetor to life. Electra had been the 3rd point in their triangle, the girl who could outrun them both while stopping to tie their shoes when they tripped. The quarrel had started over something trivial, a lost wrench, a late rent check, the kind of stuff that goes off when you're too exhausted to breathe. Remy approached Deke in the alley behind the shop after discovering the bottle hidden behind the transmission fluid, which he said was merely to take the edge off. Words turned into shoves. Shove shifted to the gleam of a blade Deke retrieved from his boot. Just to scare you, man. Just to make you back off. But Remy hadn't backed down. He gripped Deke's wrist and twisted it, and the knife slipped between them like a secret finally revealed. Deke's eyes were filled with surprise rather than anguish when he gazed down at the blood on his shirt. Remy, he'd said, and suddenly he was on the ground, the rain falling even then, turning the alley pink. Remy had knelt alongside him, pushing his hands against the wound, begging and crying for aid that had arrived too late. The cops found him cradling his closest friend's body, covered in blood that wasn't his, and holding Deke's knife, which was still warm. Electra had been the one who identified the body. She'd stood in the morgue with her back straight as a ruler, refusing to cry until the coroner removed the sheet. Then she crumpled, producing an unnatural sound. Remy had watched from the holding cell, separated by bars and the weight of his actions. Throughout the trial, she had not made a single visit, had not responded to his letters. He sat stone-faced in court as the prosecutor depicted him as a jealous lover who murdered his competitor for the affections of the woman they both desired. The truth was uglier. Remy had never loved Electra like Deke had. He had loved her like a sister, the only family he had following his parents' car accident. Deke had loved her with a frantic, all-consuming fire that destroyed all it touched. Remy had seen it coming and attempted to warn her, but Electra was always drawn to the flame. 3 years later, she was waiting for him outside the prison gates in her beat-up Jeep, the one with the cracked windshield and the sticker that read, "Nevertheless." She persisted. She didn't get out when he approached, instead rolling down the window and looking at him with eyes that had aged a decade in 1,000 nights. "Get in," she instructed. No smile. There were no tears. Only the rain and the faint growl of the engine. They drove silently across the valley, passing strip shops and palm trees twisted double in the wind. Remy watched the wipers battle against the rain, with each swipe revealing a bit more of the world he had lost. When they arrived at the former flat above the shop, which was now boarded up and had a black neon sign, he felt something inside him fracture. "I kept your tools," Electra responded, shutting down the engine. "In the back. I figured you'd want them." He nodded, his throat too thick to speak. They ascended the outer stairs together, her boots ringing on the metal and his jail sneakers silent. The keys still functioned. The door creaked open, revealing a space trapped in time. Deke's leather jacket on the hook, Remy's coffee mug on the counter, and the calendar stuck to the month Deke died. Electra walked around the rooms like a ghost, touching nothing while remembering everything. In the kitchen, she opened the fridge and took out 2 beers from the 6-pack they had purchased the night before the argument. She broke them open with the same opener that Deke stole at a Dodgers game in 2009. "To second chances," she said, clinking her bottle against his. They drank on the sagging couch, which they had discovered on the curb, and brought up 3 stairs. Remy drank the beer, even though it was flat and warm. When the bottles were emptied, Electra set hers down and turned to face him. "I need to know," she explained. "All of it. This is not the account the lawyers told. Not the one that the newspapers printed. What happened in that alley," he told her. "Every detail." Whiskey breath. Deke's eyes widened as Remy mentioned the unpaid rent. The knife flashed. The nauseating giving of flesh. Deke's hand became lax. When he finished, the rain had stopped, leaving only a drip from the gutters. Electra had been quiet for so long that he believed she made a part. She then dug into her pocket and took out a snapshot of the 3 of them on Venice Beach, arms thrown around each other, tanned and laughing. "Deke is in the middle as usual. I kept this in my wallet," she explained. "Every day. To remind me of what I lost, but also what I still had." She set the photo on the coffee table between them, face up. Then she stood, walked into the bedroom, and returned with a package. Remy's belongings were inside, including his work boots, favorite flannel, and the wrench set given to him by his father prior to the accident. At the bottom was Deke's knife, which had been cleaned and wrapped in oilcloth. "I took it from evidence," she explained. "Before they recorded it. I figured it belonged here." Remy looked at the blade that had ended everything. His hands shook as he raised it, the weight familiar yet unsettling. Electra regarded him, her expression unreadable. "You could have let me rot," he continued. "I almost did." She sat next to him again, close enough for him to smell her shampoo, the same as before, coconut and something sharp. "But then I remembered the night my mother died. You sat with me on the porch until morning and didn't say anything, just held my hand. I decided I owed you one sunrise." They remained like this until the sky outside turned the color of bruised peach. When the first delivery vehicle drove by, Electra stood and stretched. "Come on," she replied. "The shop is still yours if you want it. I have been keeping the books." Remy looked around the apartment, at the life he had lost and the one being offered back to him, piece by piece. He remembered Deke's laugh bouncing off the walls and Electra dancing in her stockings to whatever was playing on the radio. He remembered the knife in the box, the blood that would never completely wash away. "I don't know how to be here without him," he said. "You're not," she replied simply. "You are here with me. And he is. Wherever folks like Deke go when they get too brilliant. But this," she gestured toward the room, "the tools and the photograph, is what's left. We decide what to do with it." They began small. I cleaned the place first, removing 3 years of dust and remorse. Electra threw open the windows, allowing the breeze to blow away the stale air. Remy repaired the leaking faucet in the bathroom, his hands recalling the rhythm of work. They didn't discuss the future, not yet. We simply proceeded through the days like folks learning to walk again after a lengthy sickness. The shop reopened on a Tuesday in late October, and the air was crisp with the promise of winter. Remy turned the sign to open while still expecting bars on the windows. The first customer was Mrs. Alvarez from down the street, her aging Buick wheezing like an old man. She burst into tears when seeing Remy, holding him so tightly that his ribs creaked. "We missed you, Mijo," she continued. "Deke, too. But especially you." The words spread slowly. The regulars trickled in, including folks they'd known since high school and mechanics from competing shops interested about the wayward son. Electra handled the front, her smile stiffer than usual but sincere. She had cut her hair short and dyed it a deep auburn that reflected the light like spilled wine. Remy worked in the bays, losing himself in the smell of oil and the satisfaction of a job well done. They cooked together in the small kitchen at night, making spaghetti with whatever was in the fridge and eating it directly from the pot. They watched old movies on the antiquated TV, which had a foil-wrapped antenna. Sometimes they chatted about Deke. Sometimes they didn't. The portrait remained on the coffee table, a quiet third amid their conversations. The first serious cold snap occurred one evening in November. They were about to close up when Brooke Logan, yes, that Brooke Logan from Forrester Creations and 1,000 tabloid headlines, arrived in a slick black Mercedes that seemed out of place among the oil stains. She went out in heels that cost more than Remy's monthly parole payment, and her blonde hair was beautiful despite the wind. "Electra Forrester?" she inquired, consulting a notepad. "I'm looking for Remy Callahan." Electra's spine straightened. "He is in the back. Can I inquire what this is about?" Brooke smiled the smile that had launched 1,000 magazine covers. "A family business. The kind that does not wait." Remy emerged, wiping his hands on a rag and squinting at the setting sun. Everyone recognized her immediately. But there was something in her eyes, a flash of uncertainty that contrasted with the polished surface. "You're Remy," she stated. It was not a question. He nodded and waited. Brooke looked at Electra and then back at him. "I know your mother. Before the accident, we were friends, of a sort." The world tilted. Remy's mother died when he was 12 and his father 6 months later. There had been no friends or relatives, only a social worker with sad eyes and a foster system that ate up kids like him. But here was Brooke Logan, Logan of the Logans, claiming a relationship that changed his entire life. "I have questions," she added. "About your father. About what truly happened the night he crashed." Electra walked to his side and placed her hand on his. "Remy's been through enough," she remarked quietly. "If this is some kind of stunt, it's not." Brooke's voice trembled slightly. "I swear to my children, there are several things you should know. Things that could change everything." They found up at the restaurant on the corner, with the cracked vinyl booths and the waitress who addressed everyone as Han. Brooke ordered black coffee. Remy and Electra received pie, which they did not eat. The story unfolded in stops and spurts, detailing Brooke's youth, recklessness, and love for a man who was unable to reciprocate her feelings. That man had been Remy's father, a mechanic with kind eyes and a summer thunder laugh. They met at a roadside bar outside Vegas and spent the night talking about dreams neither of them believed in longer.